Good morning, folks, and welcome to Shop Talk number 37. This is the final Shop Talk of the year, 2023, and what a year it has been. I'll go into more of that here in more detail in just a few minutes. But thank you very much for taking time out of your busy days to tune into the Shop Talk live stream. And thank you to Jim Deeming up there in Berthoud, Colorado for the wonderful intro music. Jim is a great thumb picker, fingerstyle champion. He's a great player and a great individual, so check out his music. My guest today is going to be Bob Mizek, and he is the CNC guru here at the Luthiery Academy, and he's going to be walking us through the two courses that he has, CNC for Luthiers and making an electric guitar neck with CNC. So thanks for tuning in. Go ahead and put in the chat box here where you're from. I really enjoy seeing where everybody's from, seeing how far our reach is, and it's fun. I go and read that after the fact. We've got Paul from Michigan here. We've got Gary from Arizona. Steve right here in Colorado. It is going to be 60 degrees and sunny in Colorado today. For the last couple of classes, last couple of weeks, with my students, we've been sitting out on the back patio in our T-shirts, having lunch and coffee. That's how warm it's been here in Colorado. It's been great. Tim from Washington. Cesar, all the way down there in Brazil. We'll go see him in a minute. David Schramm Guitars up there in California. Welcome, David. David Smith in Oregon. Nicholas from Alabama, Jack from California, Aruba, look at that. Calgary, welcome aboard, Bruce, good to see you. Another one from BC, British Columbia, Texas. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Let me just give a few announcements here. I want to say thank you to my sponsors here at the Luthiery Academy. In fact, I'm even going to pull them up here on the iPad. If you go over to the luthieryacademy.com, you'll see a menu there. And if you just click on sponsors, you'll see all of the sponsors here at the Luthiery Academy. They help keep the lights on and they make these live streams here possible. So Total Vice, Oneida Air Systems, Glue Boost, Pacific Rim Tone Woods, StewMac, Elevate Lutherie, and Acoustic Coffee. Those folks, let's keep them in business. Recently, LMI went out of business, has a lot of people scrambling, myself included. So let's keep these folks in business, please, because it makes our lives a lot easier. So certainly appreciate that. Let's go ahead and drop down to Brazil real quick. Let's talk to Cesar and the lovely Manuela down there in São Paulo, Brazil. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. Fine, and you?
Cesar he's got a nice Christmassy backdrop there for us. And what are we going to be giving away today, Cesar?
Yeah, this time we are not at the shop as usual. Well, today we are giving away the most recent course published on Luthiery Academy, which is the Making a Neck with CNC by Bob himself, who is here today. And to participate, it's easy. All you have to do is fill in your name and email. There is a form link here at the chat box. Just click on that, leave your name and email, and we will draw a name later in the live stream.
Okay, and we'll come back to Cesar Manuela. We'll come back to Cesar Manuela here shortly and check in for the drawing. Thank you so much. It's been a very busy year, like I said, here at O'Brien Guitars and the Luthiery Academy. 21 guitars were built this year, 7 classical, 14 steel string. Folks, that's a busy year for me. That's a lot. I also have traveled all over the world. I've been to Brazil. I filmed an upcoming online course with Brazilian luthier João Cassias. We filmed a similar to a Gibson type thin body electric guitar. Very fun project. You don't need a lot of tools and jigs to do it. So be looking for that 2024. I also went to Germany where I spent some time with Gernot Wagner, who is the inventor of the composite double top. And there's a course on the Luthiery Academy that we've launched. I'll be going and seeing him again next year. I've also been to Tacoma, Washington for the Guild of American Luthiers Convention. I immediately left there and went straight to Indiana for the Mark Adams School of Woodworking finishing class, what I taught with finishing guru Jeff Jewett. We did that for 2 years in a row. This next year, I'm going to be teaching inlay, a 5-day inlay class, and a 2-day French polish class. And then I went to Michigan, Brian Gallup's Northwood seminar there at the Gallup School of Lutherie. So as you can tell, it's been a very big year. Just finished with my last student here just a couple days ago. I'm ready for a break. I bet everybody else is too. Let's go back over to the Luthiery Academy website one more time. And if you click on online courses, I have launched 5 new courses this year. The most recent being Making an Electric Guitar Neck with Bob Mizek, and he's using CNC to do that. Also the composite double top with Gernot Wagner, elevated fretboard with Michael Kaidas there in Austria. I also launched a refinishing course and season 2 of Luthier Tips du Jour mailbag videos. So some great courses out there. As you can see also, Lutherie Academy is having a Christmas promo right now, 10% off. Just use the promo code XMAS23, and that goes until December 31st. By the way, there will be a price adjustment for all online courses in 2024. So if you're going to get them now, and you'll save double. Not only you save the 10%, but you're also going to save the price adjustment. So there you have it. Let me just check the chat box here real quick. Have more people checking in. Ray, Merry Christmas, Ray. Certainly appreciate that to you too. Craig, looks like you're, Ray, are you in Hawaii? What is HI? Oh, hi. Hi, Bob. I thought that said Hawaii. Craig is joining us. Bruce is joining us. Great. How about doing some short courses on some of your sponsors' products? All right, I'll answer that question real quick, or that comment. Let's go back over to the sponsors page. And this is something that has just changed my life and changed the way that I work here in my shop. And that's Total Vise. You'll see there at the top in the middle is Total Vise, Elevate Your Workbench. Jeff there at Total Vise has, he does a lot of different products. I mean, he started with the Doug Proper workstation, has branched out to all different types of stuff, but he has made what's called the O'Brien sound hole clamp. You have an anchor that clamps to the side of your bench. You put the O'Brien sound hole clamp through the sound hole of your guitar, and it just attaches right to it, and you can spin it 360 degrees. I mean, it literally changed the way I work here in the shop. So go ahead and check them out. All of the other products that you see from the sponsors there are great products, great services. So please, they've all been vetted. Let's keep them in business. All right. Thank you very much for that comment, Bruce. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started here. We've got Bob. He's there on the East Coast. No, he's in Central Time, I believe. I'm going to bring Bob up onto the screen here. We're going to let him say hello to us. There we go. Good morning, Bob. How are you doing?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Quick round of applause there for Bob. Thank you for tuning in. And Bob,
thanks for having me.
Bob is the CNC guru here at the Lutherie Academy. He recently did the course CNC for Luthiers, and now most recently the course of Making an Electric Guitar. So I'm going to let Bob give us just a little bit of background, why he is the person that I chose to do these CNC courses. And then if you have questions, go ahead and start putting them in the chat box. I'll monitor the chat box. I'll get off the screen. I'll let Bob just talk to us here for a minute. Give us a quick, the Reader's Digest version of your background there, Bob.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be part of the curriculum, my classes to be part of the curriculum at Lutherie Academy. I've always admired, what you've done. And I've bought many of your courses over the years, and it helped me be a better guitar maker. So I'm really honored to be here and speaking with you guys today. So I started out as a guitar repairman in the 1970s after graduating college. And so I've worked on a lot of guitars. I was taught by a man by the name of Jim Beach, who was kind of my mentor, and he was trained by Bozo Badanovic, I think that's the way you say his name, or Bosho, actually. God, if he was here, he'd punch me for calling him Bozo. Really, one of the master builders. You just Google Bojo and guitars, and you'll see some amazing stuff. Anyhow, so I learned from Jim. It was my passion in life, but a bigger passion was my wife and my family, and I elected not to do it full time, and I basically worked as an engineer, manufacturing and mechanical engineer for my life, but always built and always repaired, part time, and I've handled, I don't know, well over 1,000 instruments. I've built well over 100. I've not really good at numbering them, keeping track of them, but anyhow. I've had fun with them, and people seem to like the instruments, and so far they've all held together. So I think that's a good thing.
That's a good sign, huh?
Yeah, it's a good sign. Professionally, I started to work with CNC in manufacturing uh, back in 1980. So I've got a long track record with CNC. I added CNC to my own shop in 2012 with a very small underpowered machine that was just very, very disappointing. I went to a mid-sized machine in 2015 or 2016 and never looked back. And there's very little I can't do on it. You know, I'm not going to be able to do what Gibson and Fender and Taylor and Martin do, but you know, I can do some pretty good things, and I've learned a lot over the years, and I've really wanted to teach others. I'm closer to the end of my guitar making journey than the beginning, and I think this is a real good way to pace some things forward to the, you know, to the people that will carry the torch in the future. So there's two courses. If you're not familiar with the first one, it's guitar building with CNC, and I cover things like how to make radius dishes, how to make body forms for side bending for acoustics, how to make body molds, how to make bridges, how to make fretboards, how to make electric guitar bodies, something like this, and this happens to be, you know, Pink Panther foam, and the one thing I heard from people was, what about necks? And I decided that the next thing that I should do is necks. And because in life, a lot of times you have to learn to walk before you run and run before you drive and so forth and so on, I decided to take on the idea of coming up with this new course, which is building an electric guitar neck with CNC. And it's designed so that as long as someone has a CNC that can handle like a 25-inch length, they'll be able to make electric guitar necks, and they'll be able to use the same process that I have used in my own shop and use it with great success and do different peg head styles and things like that. And if it's a success and if time allows, I'll do more. I'll consider doing one on tilt back peg heads or acoustic guitar necks. But again, I want to stress the importance of walking before you run. And this is a really good way to step into this. And it's easy. It's really easy. If you take the course, you'll see how I make necks, and you'll get all the files that if you have the program that I use, which is Vectric VCarve Pro, you'll be able to make a neck on your own machine, and you'll be able to make the headstock shapes I give you, and also come up with your own, and a fretboard that fits perfectly. So, and teach you how to do inlay pockets and things like that. So that was probably too long.
That's okay, Bob.
What's your next question?
That's okay. We actually have a couple of questions coming in. Are you okay for questions right now, Bob? You want to talk a little bit more?
Absolutely. Let's go.
Okay. All right. So first question is, and you talked about the two different courses. Can someone just buy the Making Electric Guitar Building or electric guitar neck course, or do you recommend that they start with the CNC for Luthiers course, or vice versa? Do you have to buy one before the other? Is what the question is.
You don't have to. I want to make that clear. If you have been using Vectric VCarve Pro or Aspire, which is the high-level version of that, for a while, you'll recognize all the commands that I teach in this class. And you should already know how to import things. Now, if you've just downloaded the program and you haven't spent any time with it, it can be a little daunting. It's not bad. It's pretty easy to use, but unfortunately in the second class, I'm not teaching you how to use the program per se. I'm not teaching you all the little commands. I am assuming that you know them. And when I point to one and say, you're going to do this, you already know what a pocket cut is, or a profile cut, or a molding cut. Now, if you're tenacious and maybe you watch some other YouTube videos, could you start with the neck course and right from the beginning? Yeah, it might be like drinking through a fire hose, but you know, it depends on you.
It can be done depending on your level then, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Another question that came in here. Let me just find that one again. That one's from Steve right here in Colorado. He says, which CNC will cut shell material, abalone, for example, for inlay? And that's one of the things you didn't mention about the previous course you did, CNC for Luthiers. He also teaches how to do inlay in that course. So
right.
What CNC will cut shell? Do you need a big machine, a small machine, different hardware?
The biggest thing that you need is a machine with good resolution. So what's resolution? Well, you've got a set of motors driving the tool, right? Because it's what it really is whether it's a router or a spindle, you've got a motorized tool holding a bit. And you're going to have drive motors that are moving it back and forth, side to side, and up and down. And some low-end machines have very poor resolution. I've seen resolutions that are as coarse as 0.1 millimeter. And if you look up the specs on the machine you have, you can see what the resolution is. So 0.1 millimeter is 4/1000ths of an inch. That means that it's going to go point to point 4/1000ths at a time. And you can still make a good inlay, but not a great inlay if you've got poor resolution because it's jaggedy all the way around. So a smooth circle is not a smooth circle with poor resolution. A couple of people that I've gotten to know through the Lutherie Academy have bought machines where the resolution is about 10 times better. So it's less than 1/1000th of an inch. It's like 0.01 millimeter or 0.012 millimeter. So for those of us who like to use English measurements, that would be about 1/2,000th of an inch, right? So the better your machine is, the better your results will be. But you don't need a big machine. You don't need an expensive machine. You need an accurate machine, and you do need one with a good spindle. So if you've got something that's got a Harbor Freight router on it, right? And there's one back there. Yeah, you can see it up there.
We can see it, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the spindle wobbles on that. The tool wobbles 1/1000th of an inch. These cutters, they're only 23/1000ths of an inch in diameter, or so 23/1000ths or 20/1000ths, which would be 0.5 millimeters. They're going to break, and they're about $20 a pop. So you need an accurate machine, and you need an accurate router or spindle.
Okay. There's a question here about the hardware from
yes.
JH. What would be considered a mid-size CNC machine?
Great question. I love that. So the one that I have is made by ShopBot, ShopBot, and the one I have has a working surface of 24 by 48. So that's an X and Y. And then in Z, I think standard is about 6 inches. I've got 12 inches on my machine. So that's a real professional use machine. One of my friends, and I don't know if he's on this or not, Tim. You remember Tim from our finishing class? Yeah. Really a great guy.
Finishing class. Yeah.
He just bought an Axiom, okay. And I know that he's got the right spin. I believe he's got the right spindle. He's got enough travel on it. Ray, and I know you're on here, and you bought a ShopBot desktop Max, which is the same thing that Martin uses in
Oh
their
no.
shop to do
We had a
prototype and
little had a little
one of a kind
we had a little
inlays.
delay there, Bob. I'm sorry about that.
So,
Bob,
and then,
Bob, we had just a slight
okay,
just
uh,
a slight delay. You were
um,
talking about the shop box, and then you cut out just for a second there.
okay. So, Ray, I see that you're on, and you bought another type of shop bot that's actually a desktop unit, and it's called the Desktop Max, and that's big enough to do electric guitar necks and accurate enough to do inlays. And as a matter of fact, Martin Guitars, little company, been around since 1833. I think they're going to make it. They do their own prototype and one-of-a-kind inlays on those machines. And the last one would be a Shark HD 520. Those are the ones that I'm familiar with, and I know people that have them and get great results with them. But I'm sure there's others too.
Okay. Here comes another question here. Let's see. Are there any plans to sell the guitar building course a la carte? Now, when he says guitar building course, I don't think he's talking about my regular guitar building course. I think he's talking about the CNC course for guitars. He says, I'm interested, but I'm afraid that a lot of the first half of the course are things I've already learned to do on my CNC. So, Bob, we had a conversation about this back when you were doing the course. And I think the reason why we decided not to do it was because each lesson builds upon the previous lesson, correct?
Right.
Is my memory serving me well?
Right. And in a perfect world, I would like to say yes, but I think the reality is we would be doing people a disservice by selling them individually, because whenever it's something like this, we're not only teaching how to do something, we're teaching a style, an approach.
Right.
And my approach to CNC has evolved over the years, and I really believe it's going to get you from point A to point B in the shortest period of time. And I think having the experience that I have, and having made many costly mistakes, I would rather you learn a way that's proven to work, and you can look at it and say, oh, I was doing it this way. And instead of trying to adapt the way I'd rather have you start with a clean sheet of paper, and I think you're going to have much better results in the long run, especially if you want to build electric guitar necks, because they're the hardest thing to build on a CNC.
Yeah. At the very least, you're going to pick up some new tips and tricks. And I see that a lot here in my in-house classes. I get guys come in and they just want to breeze through some of the stuff like side bending or neck carving or whatever, binding installation, because I already know how to do that. Well, okay, but don't you want to see my approach or a little different approach? Perhaps you'll pick up a trick.
Right.
So anyway, Tim made a comment there. Said, Bob's intro course really helped me get up and working fast. I use Vectric to feed the carbide create motion tools on my 5 Pro. There you go. So,
hey, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. How you doing? All right, David Schramm has a comment here. Let's see. I'm considering the Carbide 3D. How do you pronounce that, Bob? You know more than me.
Shapeoko, and that's what Tim has. I misspoke. Tim has the Shapeoko.
Okay, and it comes with the Create software. The programming and designing is what intimidates me. Will this course help people that are intimidated by the programming and designing, Bob?
Definitely. I'm not familiar with the Carbide Create software. I have looked at it. I have reviewed it, and it's an interesting thing because Shapeoko offers they offer the Vectric VCarve Pro and Aspire software both.
Okay.
And I really believe, and I pay full price for the software and everything else. I'm not sponsored by anyone, but I really believe, based on everything that I've seen, that it's the most effective to get you going and making great parts. I mean, there's other ways to do it, but I would recommend you at least strongly consider this software. It's amazing. It's just amazing.
All right. And David has a follow-up question for that as well. It says, can I use the Carbide Create software with Bob's course?
And the answer to that is I don't believe so, at least, David, because when I've looked at the software, the approach, I think you can learn the steps, but what you'll be missing out on is with the course, especially the new course, right? You're going to get the Vectric files to go and make next. And those files cannot be used the way they are with all the programming moves, with all the feeds and speeds and everything else. You can't just simply import them in. It's like trying to use Mac software on a PC and vice versa.
Right. And one of the benefits of this course, right, Bob, is that you create the file. The file comes with the course. And so you teach them how to do their own designs, but the basic footwork has been done, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the beauty of this. And you know, you can use the headstocks that I've provided. And in one of the lessons in here is how to create your own headstock. You know, and it's just easy. I mean, think about this. You can make you could basically, as long as you're fairly proficient, you could probably design your own headstock in certainly under an hour, and then go and cut the neck out in another, depending on the speed of your machine, 2 hours. You want to do that, try doing that by hand. Now, I'm going to give you a caveat. You are going to still have to do some finish profile work here, but that's deliberate. And the reason that it's deliberate is because the finesse comes from up here for you and your hands and your feel. And now you can use radius gauges and things like that. And you've got far more freedom, and you're spending less time sitting in front of a tube trying to, by trial and error, trying to get the shape right. You can do it far faster by hand. But the rest of this, you can't do this by hand this fast. The truss rod slots and get all the locations right. You can't do it that fast by hand. Not possible. For me, maybe you can.
Here comes a software question. Is Vectra Aspire or Vectric Aspire needed, or is VCarve Pro capable?
I designed it so that you can use either. VCarve Pro costs a bunch less, and that's all you need. And the only reason you need Pro for this is because the desktop version is limited to 24 inches. Now, I say that, but our friend Brock has a machine that's 24 inches by 24 inches, and he is going to try something that I haven't had to do, and he's going to run it diagonally from corner to corner and sneak it in.
Okay.
So, and it should work, you know, but he'll have to rotate the file and recompile and some things like that. But so could you do it on a desktop version? I haven't tried, but I would say it's more likely than not, but you don't need Aspire.
Tim has a comment about that. He says, I use the VCarve desktop, which can design only 24 by 24, which is like you said, but you can design bigger and export to create, then save it to motion to run. What do you think?
Not familiar with that, Tim, but thanks for the comment. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you.
All right, here comes Ray. Ray, I couldn't ask for a better guy to learn from than Bob, and I'm a real challenge as a student. Way to go, Ray. So
Thank you, Ray.
I imagine Ray's doing some consulting behind the scenes there with you, huh, Bob?
Yeah. Ray and I are cherished friends. We really are. He's a great guy, and he's got so much enthusiasm, and he's doing great.
Which brings up a question, Bob. Are you open for consultation work? If somebody wants to get started in CNC, do you do consultation work and advise them on hardware, software, and how to get up and going? Sure.
My time's a little limited because I've got another major project going on. But if anyone wants to contact me. You can. The easiest thing to start out with is look for me on Facebook if you're on Facebook. But I'll give you an email address too. My name on Facebook is Roberts Luthiery, and I spell it the other way. I spell it like they do it Roberto Venn. So anyhow, there we go. Roberts Luthiery. So Luthiery. So if you search Facebook for Roberts Luthiery, that's me. Otherwise, the best email for me, I'm just going to give you my generic one, really hard, rmizek@gmail.com.
Perfect. All right. So now
Okay.
that's been out to the world. You're going to start getting all kinds of emails about CNC. Can you show us, or do you have something you can show us as far as how the program works in the new course, the CNC?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Hang
Can
on.
you share your screen there and show us a little demo or something?
Yeah, let's do that. Hang on a second.
There we go.
Okay.
And let's
So,
see. I think I can put you as a little thumbnail down here in the corner so we can see your smiling face. Look at that. How about that, huh?
Turn the camera off. No, seriously. Okay. So this is one of the necks that I was holding, and this neck was made with this exact program. And let me show you the simulation for VCarve Pro. So let me clear this. And how are we doing on time? Let's see.
We're fine,
okay.
Bob.
Okay, so here, I'm just going to show you step by step. So the first thing is, we go and we put in a couple dowel holes so we can flip A to B. Then we go and we do the truss rod slot. So you cut that, and then we sweep the peg head and do the tuner holes. And this is the simulation. And this is for that 3x3. And then cut the peg head and the alignment holes that I use for the fretboard. Okay, so we've got one side done, and then we flip it over. And we rough cut the barrel. Okay, and then we finish cut the barrel. And flatten the back of the peg head and the heel.
How much time has elapsed to do that process? Everything you've described till now.
It's probably, I'd have to add it up, but the first side goes pretty quick. Hour and a half, I'm guessing.
Quicker than you do it by hand.
Oh yeah, I mean, and what it is I leave it on a carrier. I actually leave it attached to the workpiece, and then I saw it through here, and then after the truss rod is installed, what I do is I glue on the fretboard, and I teach and I give you the files for a matching fretboard that lines up with these alignment holes, and it's just perfect. And that way, now you can hand shape it in and blend it to your fretboard, which is much better done by hand. Much better done by hand, and it's easy and it's fast.
Now, if somebody,
that's the process.
If somebody doesn't have much programming experience, if they buy this course, is there a plug and play? Is that file plug and play? They can just reproduce exactly what you've done there?
Well, that's a great question. Plug and play to me means you download it and you put it right on your machine. And one thing with this software, VCarve Pro or Carbide 3D or any of these, you have to export it to your machine. And and different machines have different drivers for them. Just like, think of it, it's kind of like a printer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need in this case to export it, and you have to have the right software driver that it exports so it talks perfectly to your machine, because basically it's the same language, but think of it like different dialects.
Okay. David's asking a question about, what you showed there, the process. Is that done with the same bit for the whole process, or are you changing bits throughout the process?
Oh God, I wish I great question, David. Thanks for that. So let me go through, and I'll tell you. So so let's see here. I started out with a quarter inch two flute, then went to, hang on a second here. So quarter inch two flute, quarter inch ball nose end mill. I did a 3/8 ball nose end mill here. You could use a quarter inch. It'll just take a really long time. The mounting holes were 1/8, and to cut out the shape, that was back to a quarter inch. So, so what do we got there? We got one, two, three, I don't know, 3, 4 tool changes on the first side. And on the second side, we've got, wow, why didn't that change over? I think we've got 1, 2, 3, well, we've got 4 tool changes on the other side.
So you're looking at about eight different bits then.
Yeah, it may be the same bit over and over again, but we got, sometimes they're used 2 or 3 times, but basically I think there's like 8 or 9 tool changes.
Gotcha. Okay. Here comes a question. My challenge is speeds and feeds. Does the net course have some insight to optimize carving times, or is that more introduced in the previous course?
Yeah. So the speeds and feeds that I've put in the course are conservative, and they have to be conservative for a couple reasons. One, because I've got my machine's 2.2 horsepower, and that's just on the spindle, and my drive motors for moving in X and Y and Z. It's not measured in horsepower, but it's measured it's by torque. And I forgot how many Newton meters it is, but it's a bunch. And so I can push that through a lot easier than someone who has like a trim router or just a regular router or a lightweight spindle. So I deliberately have to be kind of conservative. Now, here's the thing. The first time you run a neck, one of these files, you're going to go, wow, that looks kind of slow. And the next time you run it, the speeds are going to be pretty much the same. That's not going to change much, because basically if you're using maple, if you're using mahogany and things like that, you're pretty much going to be running with these size bits. If your machine, my machine goes to 18,000 RPM, and most of the stuff I'm running 18,000 RPM. If it's a little larger bit, I might run 14,000. So that's the easy part. Speeds, if you have ever worked with a hand router and you're pushing it, you can hear it, you can feel it. And it's the same thing with the CNC. So when the CNC is running on my machine, I have the ability of hitting the shift key and the up arrow, and I can increase the feed on the fly. And you might want to check and see if your machine can do that, because what you'll notice, if you can, is you'll look at it and go, oh, well, you know what? I can run that at double the speed on my machine, or in this case, your machine. That's why speeds and feeds, everything's theoretical. Everything is theoretical, but it changes based on the material you use, the tooling you use, how sharp the tooling is, because a dull tool takes more pressure to cut and you get more tear out and and things like that. But it's all theoretical until you get down to your machine, your situation, and that's when you dial it in for you. Good case in point here is three different things, right? So foam, you can push the heck out of this. I mean, you can rip right through it. Maple's a lot harder, so you got to be a little careful so that, especially if your RPM goes over 18,000, so that you don't burn it. And also, it's harder on tools. Nicest stuff to machine for necks, mahogany. Oh my gosh, it's butter.
I tell you like mahogany for machining then.
It's great, and it's a great tone wood too. Ask Martin, ask Taylor, ask Paul Reed Smith. Okay, it's a great tone wood. Nothing wrong with maple. It's just a little harder to machine, and it gives you a different tone too.
Right. Here comes a question from Tim, and I think it's about the hardware.
Okay.
What is the minimum size this would take in a small shop? I think he's asking about if he wants to purchase a CNC machine, what's the footprint? How much size or how big is the machine going to take up, in his shop?
Oh, okay. So the machine that I have, which is probably overkill, but I like overkill. You never have too much. So the machine I have takes up, what is it? Probably 6 foot by 6 foot. But like the machine that Ray Cutler owns, that Desktop Pro, that I bet you that isn't any more than 3 feet by 4 feet.
Okay. All right. So Bruce has a question. Would it be possible to rough cut the barrel for a steel string and finish the heel and headstock by hand? In other words, can you only run half the program, certain parts that you want to do by machine and do the rest by hand?
Let me go back to your screen there. Okay, thanks. So Bruce, I'm not certain I understand the question. When you say steel string, are you talking an acoustic guitar?
For example, this neck here, or any neck, can you run half the program? Can you do certain steps with the CNC and then do the rest by hand?
Sure. And what, because I'm leaving the barrel oversize, you do get to finish that by hand. So
a final scraping or a final sanding, right?
I'm sorry?
A final scraping or a final sanding then, correct?
Well, actually, you're probably gonna need like files or rasps because I don't drop the radius all the way down to the fretboard.
Right.
The idea is you blend that in by hand.
Sure.
And so Bruce, I think I'm giving you what you're asking for, and I'm doing it in such a way that because it's closer to a finished shape, it's easy and more productive and more predictable to get the final shape by hand than if we just leave it like this. Hang on a second here. Let me go here. Let me reset the preview. And oops, no visible tool paths. Hang on. See, that's what your roughing pass looks like. And I think it's just too rough to be practical to use. But yes, could you use it? Sure. You're just making more work for yourself. I'd rather have you go and run the finish barrel just to get you closer. And I think you're going to be happier with the results.
Okay.
I think I've got the right amount of material. Yes.
Sorry
Go ahead.
about that. David Smith had a quick question. Can the neck be cut on a Shark HD 510? It is 25 by 25 with a 7-inch travel.
I believe so. I'll tell you what. Let me get my let me get a tape measure. Hold on. Be right back.
Okay.
It's not far.
Don't go away, folks.
I'm not far. It's a big shop, but it ain't that big. All right, hang on. Okay, David, first of all, thank you for your question, and thanks for all your support and input. You've been very, very helpful, so thank you sincerely. So the answer is you can't run it straight across in X or in Y, because especially if you're going to do a hockey stick neck, the hockey stick neck, which is somewhat similar in this area to a guitar company's neck that starts with Fend and ends with the Dur, you're going to need 26 inches. So you're not going to have enough travel for that if you run straight up and down or straight left and right. So, okay, so what does that mean? Well, what that means is you're going to have to do like our friend Brock is talking about doing, and running it on a diagonal.
All right, that answers the question. Bob, we're starting to get towards the end of our hour here, and I try and keep these at an hour. You got any other words of wisdom or advice before we pop down to Brazil and do a drawing and giveaway?
No, but well, yeah. Let me just say mention one thing, and if I can, in the course, I tried this stuff, and I'm not 100% sold on it, but I'm very interested in it, and I made a fretboard out of it. And I guess this isn't so much a plug as I'm just sharing information, whether you buy the course or not. Here's some free advice. This stuff looks interesting. It's an ebony alternative, and it's based on maple that they do some magic with. It's a little on the fragrant side, but I think that passes over time, and it machined great. It was wonderful and much better than machining ebony. So there's the free tip that hopefully made putting up with me for an hour worthwhile.
Just one more quick question that came in, and I don't know if this is going to be possible. Somebody's asking if you can show us your CNC machine. I don't think that's possible, is it? Because your camera angle?
Nothing's impossible. Let's try this. Hang on.
All right, let me see if I can bring you up on the full screen here. There we go. Everybody's going to get dizzy here a little bit.
Hang on.
There it is. Look at that.
That's it. Yeah. So it's a really great machine. I've enjoyed it, and again, why did I pick this one? Because I've had a close association with Martin guitars for about 20 years, and this is what they were using in their prototype shop. And I said, well, if it's good enough for Martin, I think it's good enough for me.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Bob, for doing that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. That was fun. That was
All
exciting.
right, I'm going to take Bob off the screen here for a minute. We're going to go down to Brazil, where Cesar and Manuela are anxiously waiting to have the drawing. We're going to give away one of Bob's latest course, the CNC making an electric guitar neck with a CNC, what he just discussed there in the video. And let's go see Cesar and Manuela. There they are. Cesar and Manuela. How many people are in the drawing?
We have 35 people in this drawing.
Okay. Great.
So let's do it.
Here's our random number generator being held by Manuela.
Number 25. So let me switch to the spreadsheet. And let's see, number 25 is this one. Joe Hips.
Joel Hips,
Congratulations.
You have won Make the Electric Guitar Neck with CNC. There you go. All right. Thank you, Cesar Manuela. Cesar will be in touch. Cesar will be in touch with you, Joel, with the information about how to get access to the Making Electric Guitar Neck with CNC. And I want to thank Bob for spending time with us this morning. Bob is a very, very busy individual, almost as busy as me, I think. And so
almost, you're the hardest working man in Luthery.
I've been told that. But thank you so much for spending time with us here today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget the Christmas promo at the Luthery Academy, 10% off. Just use the promo code Xmas23 at checkout. You can also buy it as a gift. If you want to purchase as a gift, you can do that. There's that option as well. And Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy New Year. Always keep something on your bench. Oh, by the way, if you want to see my end of the year video, I do an end of the year video every year. Been doing it for more than 10 years. I just launched that on the O'Brien Guitars YouTube channel. You can go check that out. I'll talk about everything that happened in 2023 and everything that's going to go on in 2024. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and enjoy your holidays. Thank you, folks.